Hey everybody, this is OHSF's all-decade team. I'm here with a very important quarterback to this all-decade team. Without further ado, I'm going to let him introduce himself and the high school he played for.
Hello everyone, my name is ZEE RANA, Z is a nickname. I'm born and raised here in Ottawa, Ontario. I basically spent my whole life here. I've been playing football from a very young age. Kind of going back all the way to my Orleans Bengals days. I started out in 2009. Playing Tyke, played 3 years of Tyke, and then 2 years Mosquito and Pee Wee. And the Bengals have been a part of my life since I was a little kid, even now. So enjoyed that. And then fast forwarding a little bit to my grade 9 year. So I remember in Ottawa high school, in football in Ottawa, there was a time when kids can only pick between club or high school. So throughout my recruiting process to go to Ashbury, I decided to stick with them. And that process was definitely interesting. I actually, funny enough, was supposed to go to Sir Wilfrid Laurier. Remember in the spring of grade 8, that was the school I was supposed to go to. And then a family friend of ours took me on a visit to Ashbury, and I fell in love with it. I actually remember printing off a picture of the logo and taking it back home. And I told my parents, I want to be here, So I worked for that, went through the application process, and I got in. So that was honestly a big moment for myself and my family. And then, just kind of played football throughout there and enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that journey to ending up at Ashbury was a pretty unique one, of course, like you said, and ending up at Sir Will. But what led you to play quarterback? What's with the background in that? You ended up, an all-city all-star. You ended up an OFSAA champion. But how did you become that quarterback? And what was the process to even wanting to play quarterback?
Yeah, so kind of going back, ever since I was a little kid, quarterback has always been there for me. Growing up, I watched both my uncles. I was actually truly grateful to watch both my uncles play in the CFL. Abi Khan and Qasim Khan. So growing up to watching, two of my uncles play at the highest level was pretty amazing. And I obviously didn't grow up to be as big as them, but just ever since I was a little kid, it was just something about being a quarterback and being that leader. And I remember as a little kid, rolling up pairs of socks and throwing them around. So my process of being a quarterback started really young. My first ever quarterback coach, funny enough, was Brad Sinopoli, who's now current receiver for the Ottawa Red Blacks. So when he was at the University of Ottawa, he was my quarterback coach, and it just kind of went off from there. Multiple quarterback coaches throughout the years, Wayne Jacobs, Ron Raymond, and currently I'm working with QB Movement, Miles Gibson. So just kind of ever since a little kid, it's just been there, and I've always wanted to be that guy of the team and lead from there.
Yeah, and what a quarterback you've become and who you are now. You mentioned, of course, going from Sir Will to ending up at Ashbury. Let's segue into that question perfectly. Speak to us about your time at Ashbury in Ottawa high school football. What were some of those positives and fun moments that you had playing for Ashbury, or maybe even some constructive moments learning the process of high school football?
Yeah, for sure. Ashbury is definitely a place I truly love, and it's a relatively smaller school. So we didn't really have a lot of guys who played football. I would say it's mostly a rugby basketball school, and now kind of they're getting into that football phase. But ever since grade 9, Ashbury has been nothing but the best for me. And I've loved every second of it. The relationships I built on and off the football field, obviously. Big shout out to my head coach John Landon and offensive coordinator Tom Christie. I think they did a really good job of building such a positive culture to play in at Ashbury, and the guys on the team can tell you. It was just so much fun to suit up and play in front of, we actually had a decent amount of fans who showed up to games. So just Ashbury has been so much, it's done so much for me. And I actually loved every second of it. And like I said, I've created relationships past high school now. So since grade 9 all the way through grade 12, like I said, relatively smaller school. So heading into games, a lot of people in the city didn't really expect us to do anything special, but the guys worked hard and we battled, and obviously it's a great honor to be named to this all-decade team, but I think a lot of that credit has to go to my teammates and the coaches for building such a positive environment and going out there every week and playing at the highest level. So
yeah, absolutely. Because there was some struggles at some point, right? From grade 10, 11, it's not like your record was something over 500. And you can attest to that because you guys kind of just flipped the switch in grade 12, right? Your grade 12 year, your senior year, it went from, a team that was struggling to hit 500 to, a 500 team who hit OFSAA. So talk about maybe a little bit of that process.
Yeah. So like you said, the grade 11 year wasn't the best. I thought we had a lot of, great players, but as you know, football has its ups and downs. So we obviously didn't have the best year in grade 11, but that grade 12 year, like you said, as long as I just think it's the family bond that we had. A lot of the guys that we had in the grade 12 team played with me in grade 9. So we've been playing for 4 years. We built a relationship on and off the field. And, I remember telling the grade 12s before a homecoming game, before our first game of the year, I said, let's just go all in. For some of you guys, this might be your last year playing football ever. And for obviously some of you guys, you're going to go on and play university football. So, we have nothing to lose here. Let's just go all in. And, that grade 12 year was something special. I still watch highlights to this day. We were the underdogs a lot of the time. I remember specifically St. Matt's, obviously a really amazing high school football team here, and led by Coach John. They're well coached, both offense and defense side of the ball. And they obviously won, I think, the OFSAA championship a few years before that. So heading into the game, I know a lot of the guys were a bit nervous and kind of anxious to head in there. But, I said, let's go all in. And we ended up beating them pretty well, pretty with a big margin, sorry. So it felt good. And then, like you said, OFSAA, that just kind of was the icing on top. We battled hard, obviously a tough loss in the city finals to St. Pete's. But we knew that we had an OFSAA game. And for it to be the first time in school history that we had won OFSAA, it just made it, even better. And to have our whole school come out and watch us play at TD Place, and especially the way that game ended, it was, it really made the grade 12 year something that I will never forget for sure.
Now, is that your greatest memory, that OFSAA win, or do you have a greater memory that you can speak to? And if that is, talk us through that field goal and that, for the people that don't know, what happened? It's
definitely up there with a few of my greatest memories. I'll give you a few here. I know my first ever game at Ashbury, grade 9. We're playing against St. Joe's at TD Place, and I was nervous. I was crazy nervous playing against my first high school team and playing at TD Place. A lot of expectations, and again, big shout out to all the guys that we had on that grade 9 team. And I was fortunate enough to throw 5 touchdown passes in that first game, and it kind of started right off the bat. So it felt really nice to do that. And then, just fast forward a few games in grade 12. I remember the semifinal against Franco Cité. We were down 14-2 at halftime. And I told the guys at halftime that, we got to bounce back here, and we got to do this for not only ourselves, but for everyone who's supported us throughout the year, teachers, other students and stuff. So, we battled hard, and we ended up winning that game, I believe, 22-14. And then, unfortunately, tough loss in the city finals to St. Pete's. Obviously everyone knows they're a well-coached team, and they got a lot of ball playmakers. But then OFSAA, so that kick was pretty special. I know the play before, we were, I think, on the 40-yard line, and Coach John Landon wanted to punt the ball, which was fine. Get the game in overtime. And Chaminade ended up returning the ball back for a touchdown. And at that moment, I was like, "There's no way this is how I'm going to end my Ashbury career." And then the football gods were with us, and there was a penalty flag. They had too many men on the field, so we took the penalty and went up 5. And then shout out to my guy Reynes, the kicker. He clutch kicked there at the 37-yard line, and it was pretty emotional. Not gonna lie, just to see how far we've come since grade 9. Like you mentioned earlier, we weren't always the best team, especially grade 9 and grade 10, and even a little bit in grade 11. But to win it like that in front of our whole school, it was just something special. I'll definitely never forget that.
Yeah, and that's a really amazing way to cap off a high school career, with a big win going out in style like that. But what I'm really getting from this conversation, honestly, Josefa, is you seem like a leader of men and somebody who can motivate their team to do better. And that's a big quality going further to the next level. So that actually is a great segue again to the next question, where we're talking about, if you could give any advice or talk to student athletes who aspire to have a similar pathway to you getting to university and maybe eventually the pros, and then also talk about your recruiting and how you ended up at SMU and then U Ottawa and the transfer process and all of those good things.
Yeah, so I'll answer the first part of that question first. For any current high school students or student athletes, you hear it many times, and I've heard it multiple times, but it's true. You got to take your academics really seriously. It doesn't matter how good of an athlete you are. If your grades aren't where they're supposed to be, schools won't look at you as the way that you want them to. So, that's one thing that I try to work on, especially, and Ashbury was really hard on that as well. So that kind of helped me, learn how to study and prepare for exams and tests and, seek help if needed. So the academic proportion of my recruiting process in general in football is really big. So yeah, and then the second part of your question, yeah, so the recruiting process was a little bit slow, especially in grade 11. And it was a little bit discouraging, but, I kept working. I kept working hard, and, credit to my teammates. We had a great grade 12 year. And, that's when after the OFSAA game, I had definitely a few universities who reached out to me. And I ended up, like you said, I was at St. Mary's last year. I learned a lot from St. Mary's, great people on and off the field. But I truly believe that, God is everything for a reason. And it was time for me to move on and come back home to the University of Ottawa. And that's not taking anything away from SMU. Obviously, I learned a lot from there. But, from a long-term development, I have aspirations to play pro. And I feel as though that being at the University of Ottawa is going to be that place for me. And then, just to come back home and play in front of my family and friends is just going to be, an added bonus. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And yeah, it's cool to see your pathway as someone who's coached against you. And of course, somebody who's been a big admirer and a fan, and actually, at a younger age, got to teach you as well. And the Fallingbrook days, kind of a funny world, how that works out. It's been pretty amazing to see your journey. And I do just want to say that, first, congratulations for making this team in this list. It's no small feat. You're one of 3 quarterbacks. And there was a long list, and making that short list is no small feat, but also, just really proud of you and really proud of your pathway. And I know you're destined to do some bigger things with that. And I have no doubt that the University of Ottawa is attaining, a special talent. And I do think that how it'll play down at U Ottawa will, one, be on you and how you choose to work, but two, knowing that you can and having the confidence that you do have to take the reins and, take that job. So just again, congrats again. And just wanted to tell the viewers, this is one of our 3 all-decade quarterbacks, Josefa ZEE, RANA, and thank you for the interview. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.